Hi, everybody. It's February, it's Black History Month, and I thought it would be a good time to talk about the February 1 to 13th birthday party. Also, last night I started laying in the pages to design the 2022 Journey Journal, which is kind of amazing. I forgot how much work it is. Not only do I have to get all the information right, I've got to get the InDesign file set up exactly right. And it's a lot, but it's exciting. And I can tell you're going to love the 22 Journey Journal, the 2022. Let's talk about who we're celebrating in the February 1 to 13 birthday party. I am here in the sun. So as you see, there's a lot of shadow, but figured why not. Let me tell you about Margaret St. Cyr, who was also called Red Wing. This woman right there. She was an actress in the silent movie era, and she was in more than 35 Western films. Now, what you have to remember is back then, an actress of color had absolutely no agency, and so the roles she played were about as stereotypical as you can imagine, and really kind of, by today's standards, horrifying. But back then in the 1930s, she was a movie star. She married James Young Deere, and they were an early Hollywood power couple, a Native American couple, and her most famous film was a 1931 film called The Squaw Man, which just gives you a sense of what reality was like for actors of color back then. That was Cecil B. DeMille's directorial debut, and the first feature film shot in what we now call Hollywood. So a lot of people don't know that about Red Wing. She was born on the Winnebago Reservation in Nebraska in 1873 on February 13th. So we're getting ready to celebrate her birthday soon to commemorate her date of birth. So that's Red Wing. Now, I have been spending a lot of time recently looking and thinking about Verneemers Tate. And what's really cool about her, she was born on February 6, 1905. She was not only the only and first black graduate of her high school, she was valedictorian. Now, what's really cool about that, she did that in 10th grade. She graduated in 10th grade. She was valedictorian in 10th grade, and the school had burned down that year, so she actually had to transfer to a different school to finish her education. So when we're facing challenges and new things, we gotta remember Verneemers Tate. You gotta think about this all. This was happening in the early teens. We were just a few decades out of slavery and Emancipation Proclamation. And remember, under slavery, it was illegal to teach slaves to read or write. So this woman's academic achievements are really impressive. She would end up earning a scholarship. She'd become the first college BA graduate, African-American BA graduate from Michigan's Teachers College. She graduated with the highest GPA in her class. This is in 1927. Take that context into mind. She worked part-time to earn her master's degree at Columbia, and she also became an Oxford scholar. And again, she was the first Black American female student at Oxford. If that wasn't enough, as you will read in the Journey Journal, she went on to earn a PhD from Harvard and was a professor at Howard University. All of this in the 1920s and 30s. So important to remember the shoulders of giants upon who we sit today with our achievements. I just think Verneemers Tate is really cool. Now, I've been spending a lot of time with all of these women because I've been thinking about them a lot. Lee Crumpler. Now, the interesting thing with her, like a lot of these women that we are researching when I'm working on the Journey Journal, is we're not really sure what they look like. So this drawing of Lee Crumpler was based on, a kind of prevalent photo that you could find online. She was born on February 8th, 1831. Now, when she was coming up, of course, slavery was still the law of the land in much of America. And Black people were not allowed to attend medical school. and they certainly were not being invited to publish books. Yet she managed to do both. She was the only female physician of any race to publish a medical reference book in the 19th century. The book was called A Book of Medical Discourses, and she published it in 1883. It was targeted to nurses, mothers, and other caretakers, and it talked about ways to care for children and women. So it's a pretty exciting work that she did. She considered her vocation of helping women and caretakers learn how to provide better care. She considered that a form of missionary work. So she really was doing her life's mission. She devoted her care to her life to caring for poor people and destitute people in Boston, where she was living. And then, after the Civil War, she moved down to Virginia and tried to help the people there as well. So, pretty amazing to think that we had our first American physician, Black American physician, Rebecca Lee Crumpler. She did, of course, face a lot of racism and sexism in her time. So I like to think of her and ask myself, and it's in the book as well, was she ahead of her time or was the time behind her? And that's a question that I really am really thinking about a lot and asking people to share their thoughts with me. Have you felt that you've been ahead of your time, or have you felt you've been right on time? In many ways in my life, I have felt that I've been ahead of my time. I feel that opportunities were not always available the way I see now. And, that's a very interesting thing when you're looking at history, because sometimes you think, wow, they had it so bad. And then it gives you a little bit of perspective for some of the struggles that we go through today. That's been the personal joy for me in working on Brave Sis and discovering these women. Sometimes I've sort of felt some kind of way about, wow, young people today have it so easy. But then I just think back that these foremothers would be saying the exact same thing to me. Look at you, you got to actually create a book and put a product out into the world. And you were born having the right to read and learn and express and share and create. So I think that's kind of a cool thing to think about, just the sort of continuity in the march of history. Anyway, I want to go on, and I apologize if there was a weird page break in the book for the next one. I noticed that after it was printed. Dr. Olivia Juliet Hooker. She is really amazing, this woman right here. If you don't know about the Tulsa race riots, I recommend that you go on to Google and learn about it. It was May 31st and June 1st, 1921. It wiped out the Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where there were a lot of African Americans who were really building businesses and acquiring wealth that was unbearable to the white supremacists of Tulsa. And so they burnt down the entire community. They bombed buildings and they destroyed the businesses and the homes. It was an aerial attack as well as an on-the-ground attack. That was the end of the Black Wall Street. Why do we bring this up? Of course, because when this attack was happening on the Greenwood district of Tulsa, little Olivia Juliet Hooker was 6 years old, and she hid under a chair in her family's house under a bed, actually, to escape or to avoid being hurt in the uprising. Now, I think of this because last night I watched Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's hour-long Instagram live about what happened to her on the 6th of January and how much she feared for her life. And if you haven't watched it, or listened to it, it's pretty harrowing, but it's also really stark. And to think that here we are literally 100 years later, right? That was 1921, and here we are in 2021. And we are still dealing with this kind of hatred. It is terrible. So to my white allies out there, please use all of the power you have to try and move this dial away from this hateful, zero-sum game paradigm that we're in around jealousy for and wanting to only hold power in one part of our society. Anyway, back to this. She became the first Black woman to enter the U.S. Coast Guard. And hello, Lisa. It's nice to see you too. Thanks for joining. I just decided, spur of the moment, to do an Insta Live. She joined the Coast Guard, and she was the first Black woman to do so, as I said. And then she also earned her PhD later in life in clinical psychology, and she lived to the age of 103. So I love those stories. I'm doing a lot of research for the 2022 book for workmen, and discovering all these amazing women who lived to the age of 100, 102, 103. I know that we don't have a corollary between happiness and longevity necessarily, but it's awesome to discover these women who managed to have such fulfilling lives and long lives, and to kind of bring them back into visibility and awareness. It is a great, great feeling. The last person, I love her so much right here. Oh man, sorry for the this one right here. It's hard to do this upside down. Gerina Lee. Now, I actually looked up some of her writing on the internet as well. She got hit with the Holy Spirit and decided she had to become a preacher. This was 1819. Imagine what a precursor that was. They did not want her to become a preacher, and she just kept doing it. She was so good at it that finally, I think it was the AME Church had to allow her to do so. Her writings can be found online. She wrote an autobiography of herself, and if I can find it, I'll put the link on the connector here. And she was born on February 11th, 1783. I mean, that's just so long ago. And to think that she was a preacher and going out and spreading the gospel that she believed in to folks against not only the strictures of race, but also gender. And so my question that I put in the Journey Journal was there a time that you knew exactly what you had to do, no matter if people told you no? In many ways, putting together this book and this project was something that I knew I had to do. And no one said no, but no one was saying yes. But I was like, I have to do it anyway. And I did. And I'm sharing it with you all. And that's really delightful. I'm really gratified. I want to ask you to please, in Black History Month, share out the Journey Journal with people. We still have a quantity left. And we're doing a 50% off sale with the code Histoire Noire, HISTOIRENOIRE. I throw a little French in there for you all. 50% off the Journey Journals, and I'm fulfilling the orders right away, so you'll have them. There's plenty of time left in the year. I love doing the birthday parties with you, and I hope in 2022 that we can do like real birthday parties, like online or on Zoom, or God, heaven help us, together, where we celebrate the great women, the great BIPOC women who we are featuring in the Journey Journal. You are going to love 2022 because I am on fire researching and finding stories and sharing them. In the meantime, I'm feeding out little snippets on Instagram and Facebook. So if you follow us there, you'll get to check it out. So I've got a message on my phone saying that it's time for my dog's play date. So I'm going to go do that and then get back on it with the work. So thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Happy Black History Month, and happy Brave Sis February birthday party part 1. All right. Thanks, folks. Mwah. It's really great to see you all. Take it easy.